today. We can be the leopard, but him and hunting dog. We can be the leopard, but him and hunting dog. We can be the leopard, but him and hunting dog.
What is going on, everybody? It is I, Toller Talks, the guy with the Tarantino influence and the lackluster commentary. First and foremost, I want to apologize. I'm actually on video. My studio isn't complete, all right? We're doing some renovations in here, so that's why stuff's a little bit empty back there in the background. I'm joined today by my co-host, one of my best friends. No, my best friend on the YouTube. No, not one of them. He is my best friend here on YouTube, which kind of says a lot about me, the very sexual, the very toit. Generation Offended. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah. So, like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about remakes, remasters, requels, whatever the fuck we're calling them nowadays. And it seems like to me, dude, like, I don't want to over-exaggerate this at all, but doesn't it kind of seem like we've gotten more remakes this year, at least from, like, the big production studios, and we have actual original stuff?
Yeah, it's you would have to pull up like a list of films, but I mean, we're definitely in the age of remakes instead of original content, aren't we?
Oh, Lord. To start off the year, I mean, I don't want to bring up Brave New World. That's going to be a continuous storyline. I guess you could say that's a reimagining of Captain America, but we started off the year with Snow White. I'm assuming you saw that, right?
Yeah.
Golly.
Of course I saw it. I'm a huge Rachel Zegler fan. So.
Right. Pretty much every content creator is at this point. Well, what'd you think about it? Like, just run me through your thoughts.
Oh, well, I mean, I snuck into the movie theater for free, so that was I didn't waste my money at least.
That's a plus.
Yeah, I heavily disappointed, I guess. Like, I didn't have many expectations going into it. I think everyone knew it was going to be a dumpster fire, and I wanted to see the car wreck as it happened, and it was satisfying in that way. Like, it was just horrible. The acting was bad. The main character was really poorly done. Rachel Zegler's performance was underwhelming. I mean, the what really stands out to me is the ending when she says leave now and never come back, and it's just like ripped right from Game of Thrones or from Lord of the Rings, and she's just doing a Gollum.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
That always. Yeah. I might as well have done the voice and everything, and I think the message that they were trying to say that beauty's on the inside really gets destroyed by the fact that so the magic mirror, it says, like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, right? Fairest means like who's the fairest of morality, and the mirror says that the only person better than the evil queen, that is her name, is Snow White. So that means that everybody in the world is somehow worse than the evil queen.
Yeah, that was because the Disney adults and people that defend the company no matter what, rushed out there and we were like, wait a minute, you had Rachel Zegler, who was supposed to be Snow White. You had Gal Gadot, who was supposed to be the evil queen. And so the instant excuse was, no, wait. Fair means like fair from morals and principles, not beauty, because there's just no fucking comparison, right, when it comes down to which female actress looks better. So they had to change the narrative, and even the fucking narrative didn't make sense. It was just like, wait a minute, so the only one who has better principles and morality or morals is Snow White. So I guess all the townspeople are just pieces of shit. Like, how does this work?
No, that's exactly what they're officially saying, right? That explanation. And I think the interviews for the film running up to it were much more enjoyable than the film itself. Watching Rachel Zegler, struggle through every interview, trying to be both appealing and by total accident be the worst person in the world was, it was just too good to look away from, really. Oh,
my favorite part was, she did all those variety interviews and Vogue interviews, which I'm not gonna, beat anybody over the head with that. We've all seen it, the weird, and it's Hollywood, baby, those interviews, and then watching her just absolutely trash the source material, and then a year leading up to the release, she went on like this borderline apology tour with Halle Bailey, who was, the Little Mermaid. And you could literally put the two, and you can watch one interview and then watch that interview with her and Halle Bailey. And she's literally sitting there contradicting herself, trying to cover up, her disdain for the source material, her disdain for the original, story, and falling in love and all that. And it's just like, oh my God, like I would have respected you more if you just stuck to your guns instead of just reading a script that, Disney gave to you to be like, hey, just shut the fuck up, read the script, and let's try to recover some money on this thing.
I don't know if I've seen a worse crash and burn story, like where she had everything that any young actress would want, right? She had the opportunities, she was, getting casted in big roles, seemed so ungrateful for all of it, and like just hated everybody involved with every project she was in, talking about getting rid of her male co-star, like all of his lines could get cut. I don't know, it's Hollywood, baby. Like,
well, excuse me, what?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, how do you take like something so good? Like, you had every opportunity to make this work. You had every chance just to shut the fuck up. So many things going against you because it's all her own creation. There was, everything that went against her was just her doing. She didn't, there's no forces outside the situation that were going against her. She just created this,
you're right.
Like, monsoon for herself.
It was just her, and the thing is that she had a pretty, I don't want to say easy, because I mean, she is a theater kid, and I will say that. In Snow White, she can definitely bellow out the music numbers. I'll give her that. But, she did West Side Story. She was found by, I think she was Marie, I believe, in that one. And she was found by Steven Spielberg, and there was 10,000, women auditioned for that role, and she got it. And granted, that film didn't make any money, whatever. But then her next film was Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, which is a film that nobody asked for. But, but she got caught on red carpet interviews and offended. I shit you not. This is paraphrase what she said. The reporter comes up to her, and maybe I'll put the clip into the episode here. Comes up to her and says, what made you want to do this film? And this motherfucker goes, I needed a job. Like, you're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud, Rachel.
Yeah, I watched that interview. I watched a lot of interviews because I made,
oh, that's right. Yeah, we both did. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that. Yeah, and I watched all of her interviews that I could find, really, just to see, if there's anything I could glean from her or explain the situation or look more into her character. And, even the interviews that she doesn't completely cringe us out or say something really obscene, she's still trying. You can tell how hard she's trying to become the spotlight every time. Like, anytime anyone else is talking, she's almost just physically leaning into frame so that she's in it. You can just see her desire to just be the center of attention. So yeah, and the payment stuff for she's if I'm in my dress, I want to be paid for every hour I'm in my dress. It's shut the fuck up.
Well, and I mean, and I know it sounds like we're trashing on Rachel Zegler, and for all intents and purposes we are, but it kind of just goes to show you the contrast between this live action remake that happens in 2025 compared to, I can't remember when the original came out. I want to say the 1930s was the original animated film. I can't remember off the top of my head. But just to start contrasting that, is the animated film was very whimsical. It was very family friendly. It was very, even to this very day, it's one of those tales of just as long as time itself. And then you've got, this lead actress in the 2025 live action remake. When you're the central character, when you are Snow White in the Snow White film, you're going to kind of dictate everything that happens around you, right? So if you're a piece of shit, if you're a narcissist, and it's all about you and all about your money, and that's going to rub off on the rest of the film. It's going to rub off on the audience. And just even though the two films are starkly different as far as quality and all of that, I would say even the production, was as well. Like the people who were within it, like even Gal Gadot, who I love. I mean, for very obvious reasons. I love her as Wonder Woman. I think she's drop dead gorgeous. She's great to look at on screen. I'm a simple man. She sucked in that too. She can't act worth the fuck.
No, she can't. especially because like the Queen needed to be a really big part, right? Like Disney villains need to have a lot of personality, and obviously Gal Gadot doesn't have much of an acting ability, so
Mm-mm.
she's just essentially just a mean version of herself, kind of. She just didn't really come off as evil because she just didn't, like her character just didn't seem very dramatic, which she needs to be.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is that there at the beginning of the year with Snow White, Disney kind of created a trend because the very next remake, reimagining, whatever we're fucking calling it at this point, was Lilo and Stitch. I'm assuming you saw that one as well, Offended?
I avoided watching Lilo and Stitch because I grew up watching Lilo and Stitch as a kid, and I was fine with the film that they had made back in the day, and I don't think they should have or needed to make a remake. Like, because we are talking about these remakes, and are they necessary? Like, do you need them? Like, do they really replace what was done before? And I don't think live actions like I don't really understand the concept of making something live action like changes it in any way. I could watch The Lion King. I've never watched the remake, but like
Oh, I have. How is that live
and
action? It's just cartoon to computer generated
whatever.
imagery. Same shit.
Yeah, it's just like you don't need to do it. Like you don't need to revamp these stories and change them for a more modern time. Like they're fine the way they are. They're well animated. They're good stories. They're timeless. Like the Snow White, film you said was the 1930s. Like that is far better than the Rachel Zegler film.
Well, as far as Lilo and Stitch goes, I mean, you didn't see it, but I'll kind of mention something here. Is that I wasn't a big fan of it growing up. I was more of like a Toy Story kind of kid. I mean, I'm 35. Was born in 1990, so that was literally the golden age of Disney as far as like VHSs and family-friendly stuff coming out. It was when all the major cartoons were making their rounds, and I wasn't that big on Lilo and Stitch, but I know they changed the villain. First and foremost, big fat alien guy, the doctor, I believe, that was changed. But the biggest difference to me, and this is something like even myself, someone who isn't a big fan, I've been to Disney. I knew like as far as the film itself, it was Ohana means family. I not a big fan, and even I knew that in the original animated film, it was all about family sticking together no matter what. And then in the remake, the sister fucking runs off to college by the end of the film. And it's like, wait. So Ohana means family unless we have to go to college. Then we can leave our baby sister behind to stay with the fucking neighbors. Like, it was just a weird creative choice.
Yeah, if you're gonna do a remake, just make it beat for beat the same, I guess. Like, I don't see why you need to change anything. If it's perfect, it's perfect, right? You don't need to change it. Way more often than not, these changes are not for the better. Like, there's not a remake I can think of that's been made in the last 5 years that's made any improvements off the story of the original.
Well, that's something we're going to talk about, folks. We're going to talk about The Running Man. That's going to be in the back half of the podcast, because I would make an argument there were things that the remake that just came out, last weekend, 2 weekends ago, that it actually did a little bit better. So, but we'll get to that here very shortly. And, something too I just want to bring up is that we just got a live action trailer for Moana. And what's weird about this event is that I'm 35. I started seeing live action remakes of cartoons that I saw when I was a kid, when I was in my 20s. I can't remember when The Lion King, I want to say like 2017, somewhere in there. So I was 27 when a live action remake happened of a film I grew up watching. My daughter is 8, and she is already going to see a live action remake of something she saw as a kid. Moana was her favorite film for the longest time. Dude, it had all the dolls, and you pushed the fucking necklace and it sang a song. She had the stuff on her walls and was going around, singing, or what she thought was singing throughout the house of the Moana songs. And now here we are. She is 8 years old, and she's already going to see a live action remake. Just wild. Why are we doing this so soon?
Yeah, well, money.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it just really comes down to money. I think that's the sad. I think that's what takes away from all these stories, that they're just cash grabs. Like they're not being made because the studios have a big love for the film or they want to somehow re-embrace their roots. It's just because they're like, oh well, we don't have the people to make good stories anymore, or don't want to take the risk on it because they want to have a pre-established audience to bank money on, because film and TV shows have always been a hit or miss idea, right? You never know if you're going to put a lot of money into a project and it's going to take off or it's going to fail. It's always a gamble. This is the only way that investors and production companies can guarantee some income, right? Like if you're going to pitch something, you're like, well, hey, it did well back in the fucking 80s or 5 years ago. So let's just do it again. And it'll be great. Yeah, we'll slap a new coat of paint on it, make a few changes, and, we get to say it's a remake.
Well, for those listening, I want you to hang on to what he just said when he said that there is already an audience built in, because that's going to be very important when we start talking about Alien Earth and Predator Badlands here momentarily. So we went from Lilo and Stitch, and I'm not going to sit here and harp on it too much because I guess it could fall into the reimaginings, which is going to be Fantastic Four and Superman. But I thought those films were decent, for what they were. I wouldn't say that they were remakes or whatever may have you. They didn't fall. They were just in the reimaginings category, but I give them a little bit of a slide. We also had, I'm not sure if you saw it, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I know what you did last summer. It got a requel, I guess you could say, a remake that's a sequel, since we're fucking making words up. Did you see it?
No.
You didn't?
I seem to not be as masochistic as you are when it comes to.
Well, I'm just a horror fan, and so I didn't mind the Scream remake when it came out. It wasn't the greatest, but I'm like, you know what? It did enough to honor the films in the past. It made its own story. Okay, cool. I know what you did. What last summer was a piece of shit. I mean, I'm not going to get too far into it because I'll start ranting and raving again. But it not only did the film itself suck, but it dishonored the past by having one of the original characters with next to no motive be one of the killers, which is I thought that was very, very disrespectful. So then we went from I Know What You Did Last Summer to this fall, which oh goody, we get to talk about my longtime friend, Alien Earth. And the reason why I said for those of you listening to remember what he said about built-in audience, that's implying that, no, that's not implying, it's directly stating that there is a fan base already for that particular franchise. And I think Alien Earth has to be one of the biggest examples, the worst examples, of a franchise just taking out their dick and slapping their fan base directly in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that along with Gen V, The Boys, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones. It's been a long list of TV shows getting to, I don't know, piss off their audiences. But yeah, Alien Earth is definitely at the top of the list. I don't know. I was saying this to my friend the other day. I would say that it might be one of, I don't know, maybe in the top 10 worst shows ever. It's really bad. It's really,
and it just really got renewed.
Every level. I know, season 2.
Yep. And the only reason it got renewed for season 2 is because there's no coincidence. Predator Badlands, even though it's still crawling towards profitability, had a massive drop off in its sophomore weekend. I did not expect that. I think it only brought home like 60 million, I think, in its sophomore weekend worldwide, which is just shit. But it's still crawling to profitability. But there's enough stooges, enough Disney adults out there that really ate it up. And it sounds like to me, since Alien Earth ended what? September, the end of September, and we didn't get a renewal for about a month and a half. And then the renewal just magically pops up within the same week that Predator Badlands released. So it sounds like Disney may be fast tracking Alien versus Predator and creating this new universe. And I think season 2 of Alien Earth, Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Could you imagine, like...
Well, I definitely think you're right. I mean, like, because, they want to use these IPs they've been collecting for the last decade or so, and Marvel's clearly dying, so they need something new, right? They need a new universe to profit from. So that is clearly going to be some Alien films, some Predator films. But my question is, Alien Earth is supposed to be its own thing, right? Like its own continuity. That's what the creator said. Like he's like, it's its own thing. It's not
No,
a part of the main franchise, I
it
guess. I'm
it
not
it is.
totally sure though. What did you hear about that?
Yeah, it is actually. So Alien Earth actually happens. I think it was, I don't know how many years before, but it took years. It happens before the events of the Nostromo, which is the first Alien film.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know, like in continuity it does, but I don't. The director said something about it being like its own thing, like it's not going to be connected to other Alien stuff, like in terms of like what happens in it. It's going to try and be its own thing. It's not going to tie into anything really.
I mean maybe, but Dan Trachtenberg said the same thing about Predator Badlands. Paraphrasing is something I was reading about, because he was talking about where does it take place within the continuity or the timeline of the rest of the series, and he said that he himself also said that it was kind of his own thing. He didn't really facilitate when the time was. He didn't say when does it take place or the other characters, because he was afraid of stepping on other films or other shows' toes. So that we may be seeing that from both avenues. We may be seeing both Noah Hawley and Dan Trachtenberg saying, look, these are their own things, but brother, Disney. They're going to put these dudes in an office and go, all right, find out a way to combine it.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, if they, retcon what these creators say or whatever, I mean, they want to make this a big universe. They need to, so that they can replace Marvel, or at least have something besides just Marvel going on. But the Alien and Predator time, like especially Alien, the the continuity is pretty
shit's
fucked
all over
up
the
at this
place.
point. Like it is all over the place. They really need to do a hard, reset. Declare what is canon, what's not canon. Do a bit of like a DCEU thing, where they're like, okay, so after Alien and Aliens, nothing happened. Like whatever we put out now is now canon because. You got Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien 3, which is, Alien 3 is that, and then Alien, what was it? Alien Resurrection?
Romulus.
I
don't know if you mentioned Covenant.
Romulus as well.
Yeah, Covenant's in there. Romulus.
Yeah. Romulus they made so.
Well, they may just be doing, like I said, with Alien Earth, and then this new Predator with Dan Trachtenberg's whole thing, which is still kind of weird because. Killer of Killers, the animated film they did on Hulu, that went full circle to the first film, because if I'm not mistaken, Arnold shows up. He's encapsulated, and so was Amanda Midthunder's character from Prey, whatever her fucking name is. So that's tied into that. I don't know. This is gonna be fucking weird, but. Yeah, Alien Earth. Going back and to what you were saying about the built-in fan base, people that are already hungry and want to see this, want to see expansion of the universe. I am one of those people. I'm not a big fan of Prometheus or Covenant, some of the stuff that Ridley Scott did when he was obviously on drugs. But Aliens, I love the originals. I was not a fan of Alien Earth in the fucking slightest. You know that, and I know you're not a big fan either. But tell me why your number one reason why you didn't like Alien Earth.
Oh man, that's fucking that's like finding a needle in a stack of needles.
Asking the hard questions.
Yeah, that is really difficult. Okay, let me think. Man, it like just off the top of my head, like I could list 5, but like characters, right? Like who's supposed to be the main character, and how are they supposed to be relatable, right? So you have Marcy, or whatever the fuck her name is, the main chick. What they call her? Or she's girl from Peter Pan. So
Wendy.
Wendy, right? So
Yep.
Wendy is the main character of the show, a character with no personality, no consistent morals, no overarching goals, no interpersonal conflict. she's just a psychotic robot when she needs to be, and then is like a child at times. She's just jumping all over the place. There's no consistency. She seems to be a danger at points, but then doesn't seem to be. I you know what I mean? Like, is she a threat to humanity? Is she for humanity? I don't know. And then you got fucking Hermit, who's supposed to be kind of our fish out of water story, right? He's supposed to be our guy to ground us. The least grounding dude in history. He's fucking emotionlessly walking around just staring like gobbed mouth half the time. You don't know if he's upset or contemplating. He has the same face for every emotion.
Yep.
And he's I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know if you watched my review either, but
Of course.
he's a medic, right? Like, he's a medic.
Yes.
So he does not heal a single person in the entire show. He does not help anybody.
No, he doesn't.
He shows up on the fucking the 9/11 that happens in the show where the spaceship
the
crashes
Maginot,
into the
yeah.
skyscraper. Yeah, the Maginot crashes, and he constantly, you just see him walking around, and he has bloody hands, but you don't see him helping anyone. And you see a guy on fire, he makes no effort to save him. And then the only person he actually tries to help is the Indian kid, who's a cyborg, so he can't help him. And that's it. That's it. He from then on, he has no medical assistance whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think, to have a short answer, the characters for sure.
Okay.
Wendy was terrible, but Hermit, I think in hindsight, I could have just made a video series on Hermit himself. I kept going back to him for examples for every issue. He's just in all the worst scenes. There's this great bit where when I say great, I mean like greatly awful. There's this bit where they're going on patrol, right? And Hermit's with his two friends, and they're essentially nameless. I don't think you get their names. I looked it up. The black chick, she's called Siberian, right? That's her code name. And the other guy is whatever. It doesn't matter. He's just some dude. So they're going on patrol, and they're talking about how... Well, essentially they're talking about the entire plot. They're talking about how the aliens are in the lab and that they're scared of them. And then Siberian asks Hermit, so I can't get through this. She asks, is that your sister or is it a machine? Right? Okay, so leading up into this moment, this might be the biggest question the character is asked in the entire show, because, for the audience's context, we don't know exactly what Hermit feels about it. Like, we see that, he is growing to understand Wendy. He sees her as his sister, it seems, but he also seems kind of wary of her. So this is an opportunity to get some context as to what he's thinking. It also is a chance for the writers to explore the philosophical concept: is Wendy a person or is she a machine? Because, like, is she a child with the in the body of a machine, or is she a machine that simply copied the consciousness of a child? Right, it's
Right.
a big question.
Right. Yeah.
and Hermit's answer is, yeah, think so. That's it. That's all you get. You never hear anything else. He doesn't explain, he doesn't extrapolate. He has no fucking reasoning for this answer. It's just, that's it. And it's horrible.
Yeah, for me, and it's, I mean, it's tough. The characters were awful. I mean, the only ones I had any interest in, and they played background noise for most of it, was Morrow and Kirsch, which their fight, which happens at the end of the season, which is like, there was just so much build up to these two guys, so much tension, just like they just hate and just to hate, and so I was like, man, maybe this fight's gonna be badass. It sucked. It was like 3 minutes of just throwing each other around. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we spent all this time building up to this, and it's just terrible. But for me, and this is something that's gonna cross over into Predator Badlands as well, which we'll hint on. If anyone hasn't seen it, but I'll hit on it a little bit. Is I'm a big fan of some of these classic monsters. And I just got through rewatching the 1987 Predator film. And, I've seen the original Aliens, and we're seeing a bastardization of these, iconic movie characters and creatures. And that's exactly what happens in Alien Earth. The Xenomorph, which is like one of the most existentially terrifying things to have ever been put on a theater screen, and they turned it into a fucking Pokemon, which is just a wild choice to me. We're talking about a creature that in that first film, was 1v1ing, was hunting people, literally stalking them, sitting in dark corridors and corners in the shadows, unraveling itself, the double mouth thing, the little mouth thing, the tail, like just picking people off left and right, pretty much, what's the word I'm looking for here? Very methodically. It was terrifying because, when you're watching that original film, you're not sure if you're looking in that corner of the Nostromo, you don't know if that corner is empty or there's a fucking xenomorph in it. There was this constant tension, constant suspense, which is my kind of horror. And then in this show, whoops, I hit my mic stand there. You can tell I'm getting a little, the show pisses me the fuck off.
Emotional.
Golly. But then in this show, they turn it into Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, because Wendy gets this ability to be able to control it by doing these fucking frog sounds with her fucking throat or her mouth or whatever the hell. And she can control it. She can tell it to run this way, run that way, kill this person, I need your help, etc., etc. Now, for the folks who are going to challenge me undoubtedly in the comment section talking about the old Dark Horse comics, yes, there was a character, I believe her name was Eloise, I believe was her name, who was kind of like a xenomorph queen. She was able to control xenomorphs just like Wendy can. And a lot of you Disney shills, you Disney fucking adults, were using that as an excuse. Oh, you haven't seen the comics. This has already happened. Fuck you. Eloise was engineered that way. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've read the original Predator and Alien comics. If I'm not mistaken, her programming was spliced with a virus or some of I want to say the alien DNA. And was integrated into her that way. But it is explained. In Alien Earth, we get no fucking explanation. Sure, maybe Wendy is like Eloise. Whatever. Cool, I'll take that as an excuse. But it's never explained. We just see her talking to a baby xenomorph, and they give us no background on it. They don't tell us how it happens, why she can do this why she can do anything. I mean, Offended probably has talked 15, 20 minutes in his videos about Wendy being able to hack computers magically. Magically. We're never told how she can do it. She just does it. And the same thing goes with being able to talk to xenomorphs. And so that's my biggest issue with Alien Earth is that, they turn the xenomorph into pretty much a novelty, a pet, a golden retriever, and kind of destroy that mystique, the reputation it had from previous films. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, well, I think you touched on some good points. I think if it's implemented well, the idea of an android and alien forming some kind of alliance isn't inherently bad. I mean, we saw that kind of happen with David in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Yep. And I think, those films are flawed as fuck, but I think David was obviously the most interesting character in that, and his relationship with the aliens was cool. I think it could have been implemented better, but it was cool. And had they done that in Alien Earth had they done it in a better way, perhaps, but it also shouldn't be the main character that gains this ability. I mean, we're essentially just saying that she's a Mary Sue, right? She's Wendy Sue.
Right, exactly.
She can control she can she's the smartest being on the planet. She's super physically capable. She can 1v1 an alien, no problem, pretty much. She can talk to technology. She can talk to aliens. She can't be outsmarted. Everyone likes her. And so she just comes down to being a Mary Sue, and that's a problem for the story because there's no tension. They've turned the main villain, like you said, the aliens are supposed to be scary and terrifying, and they represent existential dread. They show the horror, they're space horror, right? They're the unknown. They're the creatures from far beyond. That we
go
can't
sit
really
in a dark
understand.
room and watch that original film. Get watch it on your PC, put the headphones on, turn every light off in your fucking office, bro. That shit is terrifying.
Yeah, well, I rewatched Alien and Aliens to get used to Alien Earth again and compare and contrast, and yeah, they're like really terrifying creatures. They're really weird. Like the more you learn about them, the scarier they are. But they also have a mystique about them, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're not fully known. We don't know exactly where they come from. They're mysterious. We like, we get hints at their origins, but it's not fully analyzed. But the fact that they're just now used, like you said, as golden retrievers, where like the main character can call on one at any point she wants and kill like swaths of armed guys, yeah, it just takes away the tension of the story. I mean, oh man, the ending as well, right? Like the last episode, so they capture Wendy, right? Like Prodigy captures Wendy and the kids, I guess, with the hybrids, and put them all in one cell for some reason. And then they and then they put her in a room as well with technology she can control with her mind.
Fucking brilliant.
Like
It's a bold strategy,
yeah,
Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
yeah, exactly. Oh, it's like, the story has no logic as well as the characters being stupid and ruining the aliens. Like we could stay here for fucking hours and talk about
Oh,
every
God.
problem in the show because it's just endless.
Well,
But yeah, I think if the show has a plot that doesn't make any sense and characters that are bad, and it ruins the thing that they're trying to build their franchise on, then then it's just not good. It just sucks.
Well, I'm going to use something that you said here to kind of segue. We were going to talk a little bit about Tron Ares. We're kind of, I don't say we're pressed for time, but we're trying to keep things in more of a condensed timeline for those of you who are watching or who are listening. Tron Ares, Jared Leto. Okay, that's all I need to say. It sucks. Anyway, so Offended talks about the mystique, right? That mystery surrounding the xenomorph, and that's what made it so intriguing. Like, yes, we knew a little bit about it. We found out a little bit about its origins, its physiology, how it works. But it was really that mystery that made the creatures so interesting. And so when it comes down to Alien, there's the other side of that coin, which is the Yautja, or the Predator. I know you haven't seen Badlands, but I'm just going to briefly touch on this just to kind of nail that point home that you just talked about. There have been comics, okay? Obviously, I know the comics. I just mentioned the Alien comics, right? But the thing that made the Yautja so interesting was that mystique. Their culture was a mystery. How they acted, how they hunted, their morality, if you will, their principles. Most of it was a mystery. Well, with Predator Badlands, so we have, like, let's just put it this way: from the 1987 film, it's another one of those sci-fi horror, right? There's a lot of suspense, a lot of tension, which is going to lead to terror, especially, in the 87 film where you have these guys that are just these bulky macho man guys that are bigger than life and carrying even bigger guns. They're being hunted by this enemy that they can't see, which, if you think about that, if that were to happen in real life, if you knew there was someone standing outside your house at all fucking times and you just couldn't see them, that shit's scary. And that's how that 87 film was. With Predator Badlands, we got rid of all the mystique, all the mystery, all the suspense, the tension, the horror, all of it. Gone. And they pretty much turned it into, in my review, I called it Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4. It became a buddy comedy of Deck and, I can't remember her fucking name, the android or whatever may have you. It pretty much just becomes a nice little sci-fi action romp. There is no semblance of anything from that 87 film or what made the Predator franchise so beloved by so many. And, for folks that have, my review did relatively decent on it, but, folks will talk about how this is a great expansion of the lore, of the culture. You just haven't read the comics. That was a pretty blanket excuse, which is just a total lie. But for what it was worth, the film, it wasn't terrible as a film. It just wasn't a Predator film. So if you're going to watch it, Offended, just know that walking in, that if you've seen the original and you're expecting that same kind of sci-fi horror tension, constantly feel like you're being watched but can't see who, throw it all out the fucking window. Pretty much just, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume. Think of Predator and then think of how you can marvel him the fuck up. And that's what they did.
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of all knew that going into it, right? That was going to be the situation. I mean, we're talking about Mystique a lot. And I think this point comes around to, nothing can beat the audience's imagination. So you can
Ooh,
tease
I
an
like
audience with
that.
some info.
I like that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's true because you can show us a little bit, obviously, and give us hints, and that will pique everyone's interest. You get people invested. They'll theorize to the end of time if they like it, right? Like you think of The Shining. Part of the reason that film is still so famous today is because of how many theories and endless analyzing the fandom has done about it. Like what makes room 237 so mysterious?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Jack in hell? Is this all a hallucination? All these big questions you would have about the movie, and it's great. Would get taken away if you made a film about the Overlook Hotel, 20 or in 10 years when you can make an animated film or whatever exploring the lore of it, and just take away all the mystique and all the questions that we have. And
Well,
I don't
let me
think
add
that
on to
would
that.
be good for
Yeah,
TV
let
stuff.
me add on to that real quick. The Shining did it well, but what about John Carpenter's The Thing? I don't know if you've seen that or
Perfect
not,
example.
but the question right
Yeah,
there at
yeah.
the end is one of them The Thing? That is something in 2025. What, 40 plus years later, we're still trying to get an answer to, and John Carpenter won't fucking give it to us. But continue, sorry.
Yeah, I think the same thing with the Sopranos, right? There's a lot of stuff in that show that's never answered, and it adds to the fans. People love theorizing. People, especially again, if you got an audience that's hooked, they'll think about that stuff and they'll create their own fandom, and that's good for any franchise,
Oh
really.
yeah.
And you don't want to take away Stranger Things as well, right? Like think of the mystery and all the theories about the Upside Down and what it was all about and what's in this alternate dimension and how it's going to play into later seasons.
Mm-hmm.
When the show first came out, people were really invested. Now we know it's all fucking dumb because they went in and they explored it too much. They told us everything about it. They told us how it happened, how Vecna came to be, how he's the mind flayer and all that stuff. It just takes away from the mystery of it all and becomes a lot less interesting because you'll never answer you'll never fulfill that the audience's true imagination because nothing can beat it. Because whatever we imagine will never be as good as what's shown on screen. Or sorry, will always be better than what's shown on screen.
Yeah, I think the
And
term that people like to use is head canon. In their head, they've created a canon, and that it. You're right. You're 100% correct. That is a great tool for the audience. Just let the imagination roll.
Yeah, and I think Predator, delving more into the world of the Yukia and where they come from and how their society works is just gonna chip away at the mystique of their origins and stuff. We were talking a bit about this over on Discord earlier. But we're talking about the Predators film, which I don't know when the last time you saw that. It's been years ago for me.
It's not the Shane Black one, is it? Is it the Shane Black? No, it's the one with Adrian Brody in it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not Predator, but yeah. So Predators was one of these first modern remakes. I think it was 2011, where you revisited an old franchise and they tried to imitate the original. And there's a very similar premise. You got a bunch of armed soldiers wandering through the jungle as invisible predators try to kill them.
I'm laughing when you said that imitation. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Adrian Brody. Come on, they have as much in common as I do with Kim Kardashian. Continue though. Sorry.
He really. I don't. A lot of people. Yeah, he's a very nerdy looking dude. I think he did a fairly good job of being the tough guy. He's oh yeah, I'm the fucking mercenary guy. I thought he did it all right.
He did all right. Yeah, I remember that much.
Yeah. I think again they had a guy with a minigun. It's all very on the nose. You can see where they're pulling from.
Right.
But they added a little bit to the Predators themselves. Right. They showed us that there's not just one race of predators. They compete with each other. This is a world that they send their hunts to, and they fight them here. And it was just enough to add a bit to the lore without stomping on any real established stuff, right? It was just okay, there's more to them than we thought. We still don't know a lot. It's a bit more fun. It's a different take. It adds a little bit more to them, but it's just enough to theorize and think about them. It's not all the answers. You don't get to see how their societal structure works, or I don't I don't want to know what the predator school looks like and how they learn how to become better predators. I don't know.
What?
Is there predator handyman? I don't know. I don't want to see it.
Well, the thing is that being someone who's read the comics, I didn't mind exploring. I thought that what Badlands did, like the very beginning, we get to see Deck's father and his brother. We kind of see like an inner sibling rivalry. I thought that was really cool. There's a real cool fight scene in the cave, and then the dad. Oh my God, his dad. The design of his armor was probably the coolest armor I have ever seen across all of the Predator films. Like, just an amazing design. And I don't mind exploring their culture in that way. I think the beginning of the film did a really good job. But the thing that irked me the most was just the way the film was framed. Like I said, there's no horror, there's no suspense, there's no tension there. Someone who's in my comment section actually had a brilliant idea. So the premise of, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you, the premise of is that, Deck is trying to find his place within his clan, and so he goes to the most dangerous planet, I guess in whatever galaxy universe that they're in, that has a creature that even his father is afraid of, which is a weird thing to say. And Elder Yautja being afraid of anything is that's just wild in itself. But anyway, but so he's hunting this creature, runs into a bunch of people, etc. But that's kind of the basis of it, is that he's just trying to prove himself by hunting this creature, which turns it into like an action adventure, right? Because when you're looking through the eyes of the predator, all the suspense and all that horror is gone, right? You're behind the eyes of the more powerful thing in this film. It's kind of like watching the perspective of Superman. You're like, okay, well, we know he's going to win. So it's like there's not a whole lot of stakes there. What someone in my comment section said would have been cool is that obviously his father hates him. He's trying to kill him. He's trying to cull the weak, because Deck is considered weak and frail by comparison. Why did they send other Yautja after? Oh, sorry. Oh, Lord. I'm over here hitting my mic stand and everything. Sorry, it's a new setup, folks, so my apologies on that. Why didn't they send other Yautja, maybe bad bloods, ones that are getting ready to be excommunicated or whatever may have you, after him? And I'm like, that would have been a great idea. Just imagine Deck being chased by 3 of his kin. He's still trying to hunt said creature to gain his place in the clan, but while that's happening, he's being stalked and hunted by like 2 or 3 of his own. Like, that would have been a great idea. But why do that when you can have him team up with an android and it pretty much become like Rush Hour 4 at that point? So, yeah, I won't get too far into that because you haven't seen it, but that's just kind of like my opening thoughts. I still think it's worth a watch culturally. Speaking of so you happen to see it like on streaming, or if you sail the high seas. For what it's worth, it is a good film. I think it's a perfectly good film. It's just not a Predator film. This is what I said in my review. But we said we talked about all that to talk about this, right? We just talked about all the crap remakes from Snow White. We touched a little bit on Fantastic Four, a little bit on Superman and Alien, or all this other shit, to talk about the newest remake, which is The Running Man. I have a review out. Offended, I haven't seen one to come across my notifications. YouTube sucks though, but I don't think you have one. So why don't you tell me your opening thoughts on The Running Man?
Yeah, I'd say it's flawed but entertaining. It made me laugh a lot more than I thought it was. I thought it was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Edgar Wright's a really good director, so he has some of his natural talents, come through in the film. Some of the dialogue's really well done. The timing of the jokes are good. For the most part, most of them land. I don't think all of them did, but it's just comedy's subjective anyway. But yeah, I liked it up until just after Michael Cera's death. I think after that point, the movie does a real nosedive in terms of quality.
I'm sitting here laughing because bless his heart, man. He is trying so hard to grow facial hair, and he is losing the battle.
Well, I thought he was a great addition to the film. I thought it was really funny seeing his little. I thought it was a great take on the Home Alone situation where he's really excited to pull off all these pranks. You can tell he's been ready to defend his house for a while. He's like really, yeah. I love how he's just running through every room he can to like use all of his little gadgets and stuff. I thought
But
that was well
the super soaker,
done.
I'm like, what are you doing with that thing? And I'm like, oh.
So that was fun. Yeah, I think Glenn Powell did a good job. He was a fairly well made, action hero. I thought it was interesting that he wasn't, some kind of prepared guy. He just seemed like a regular dude. Like they kept mentioning how he doesn't have any military experience. He's not like a normal killer or anything. He's just this really angry dude. And I thought that was a good take. However, my complaints start to come in with some of the structure of the film. I think, after Michael Cera's death, Glenn Powell goes out to find that bunker, but he finds out that it's been replaced by suburbs and stuff. And so he's in that like desperate situation where he has nowhere to hide. He has no one helping him. He has no gun. He's got one revolver and he's kind of screwed. So you see that he leaves the tape saying like, you guys take care of it. I'm done with the system. I'm going to go my own way. And I thought this is like, okay, I'm going to bring the war to you kind of thing. Like he's had it. He has nothing left to lose.
Right.
He's got to go for it. But he ends up just like kidnapping this random woman. And it just derails the entire plot because then they go onto the plane and he explains his situation more and blah 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 blah. I just thought it like really ruined the suspense and the flow of the story really gets stepped on, because I think like you really expect him to be like, okay, this is revenge time, he's pissed, and then he just ends up kidnapping this chick and she just doesn't really have any payoff in the story either. Like she's on the plane with him for a while, then he kicks her out and you never see her again. It's like, why is she in the story at all?
Which is weird because in the original, she actually, I'm having a hard time remembering the name there, but the character with the same name is in the original film. But she's alongside, she's on Ben's side the entire time. She actually is a little more of an adversary to start off. And then they start working together kind of as partners leading into the midpoint of the film. And then she actually becomes a love interest by the end. And then in this one, she's just a random person that gets kidnapped in an electric car. Of course, it's electric. Why wouldn't it be? And then just kind of held hostage on the plane before she gets tossed out. So I agree. That was a weird creative choice.
Yeah, I thought that would have worked really well for the lesbian chick. I don't know. I don't think she really has like much of a name, but there's two other running men in the race with him, and I thought that they could have played a lot better into the story. Like if I were to be bold enough to say that if I were to rewrite the film, I would say like it would have been really smart had Glenn Powell like watched the night before. He watches like he tries to watch every season of The Running Man up until this point, right? He's like trying to gain like insight information, see what people do right, do wrong. He doesn't do any homework on it, but it seems like he watches these shows, so I thought he would use that to his advantage. He doesn't do it, so I think that would have been cool had he done some homework. Well, and it would have been cool had... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it just kind of, before we get too far off, when you were talking about, how he's just a guy that works for, or used to work for some defense companies. That's a good point, and I brought that up in my review as well, because in the original film, which my girl and I just recently watched, God, it still holds up to this very... It's a cult classic. I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but it's one of those. It's just a good time. Is that at the very beginning of the original film, we find out that Richards he's a cop, actually well-trained cop, pretty much, I don't want to say on the SWAT team, but he's just one of the police officers, and he gets sent to prison because he refuses to open fire on innocent civilians during a food riot. So we know that he's a cop, which comes with a certain level of training. And then we know that he goes to prison, which is, everybody knows fucking prison's pretty goddamn brutal, violent fucking time, isn't it? So we know that he learns all of his abilities to survive, his abilities to fight and take care of himself. The viewer can kind of just assume, okay, this guy was a police officer, comes with a certain, requirement of training. That's how he learned how to fight. And then he went to prison. So obviously you have to learn how to survive in prison. Cool, right? I can assume those things. But in the remake here, Ben Richards, it's just, he works for a couple of defense companies and got fired. But then, like, later on, this
Yeah.
guy's fighting 3 fucking hunters on a plane. It's like, where'd you learn how to do that? You can take on 3 of these motherfuckers at once.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think the other issue, like, that would have been fine had they given us a bit more development in his abilities throughout the film. Like, he, fights other dudes before this. Like, he learns along the way. It would have been a bit more satisfying, but we never see him kill anybody until the end of the film, so it's kind of, yeah, you're right. It throws you off.
Yeah, well, he inadvertently blows up that building.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't. Yeah, it would have been cool if he like had fist fighted somebody and like shown to be not the most equipped person, but then he ends up winning because if he grew his abilities over the course of the film, it would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the other 2 running men, so in the beginning of the film, they kind of make a little bit of an effort to show that he's bonded with them to some level. Like he tries to save the nerdy dude or the dumbass or whatever he is. He helps him out. And the lesbian chick seems to like him a lot. So I think it would have been better had they actually reunited as a team later on. Like, what if he was like, okay, so I've watched every episode of The Running Man, and they all split up and get killed off one by one. How about we stick together and try to work this out, kind of thing? Or maybe he somehow runs into her later on, and they're trying to fight each other because they're competing, right? They're competing with each other to be the last man standing. So maybe they try to kill each other off, only to work together at the end. And it would have been cool had they showed a bit more of a relationship, somebody else for him to bounce off of more often. Someone to be on the run with, because you get a lot of him monologuing with these videotape things and all that stuff, and I think it just would have been better had he had someone else to compete with, I guess, and who didn't have to be a love interest because, well, she's gay, and also, just could have been someone with a different perspective. Like he seemed a lot more of a straight-laced kind of guy who's a bit wild with his anger issues, but she just seemed like a wild person. So
you're saying he needed someone to play off of, is what you're saying?
Yeah, like she's wild, he's straight-laced.
Yeah.
Like they. Yeah, she keeps getting him into trouble, but she also helps him out. Like, that kind of classic fucking good cop, bad cop thing.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. I mean, we got that in the original film. But like I said, I can't remember the name of the female characters. It's just leaving me right now. But yeah, she, like I said, the chick that he holds hostage in the car. In the original film, she's a part of the Running Man show. And like I said, she starts off as an adversary, and then they become partners, and then love interest by the end of it. But you're right, there was some stark contrast in there that the 2 were able to play off one another. And most importantly, this is something we do not see in modern entertainment. It showed how men and women work together to accomplish a mutual goal, where one has strengths, the other has weaknesses, and vice fucking versa, which is something we just don't see in modern entertainment. So I agree with you. I think that they really could have. I love seeing things through his eyes. I think that Glenn Powell is very quickly becoming a rising star in Hollywood. I like him. I like his style. I like his energy. I like his charisma. Even though some of the dialogue and the shit he said in this film, it's like, why would you ever write that? He still sold it. He's very good. But you're right. It would have been kind of cool to see him play off of another character, just to see those contrasts, especially, like you said, the lesbian, the party girl, the energetic, don't give a fuck attitude. And you've got him who's just like pissed off all the fucking time and just worried about his family. That would have been good. I agree with you. That's a really good point to make.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think that was just what the main thing was missing, was just someone for him to bounce off of, yeah. And I think that would have made the film a lot better.
Wait, have you seen the original by chance?
I actually haven't, so...
I have not. So, let me explain this then. So, you just kind of tell me, you just pick one of the 2. So, you've seen the remake, right? Where it's... he's pretty much thrown out into the public. He's out in the real world. Not only the hunters hunting him, but real life people are hunting him as well, can turn him in, so on and so forth. And he just has to survive 30 days, all while collecting this money, having to mail stuff away, etc., etc. That is option 1. Option B, you have The Running Man, which is a literal game show, not just in name, but also in definition. That when the contestants of The Running Man get cast down, when they take the little bike-looking thing through the tunnels, they don't go back to the real world. They go to this underworld type place, this game arena where there are real people, but they're real people that have taken, what's the word I'm looking for? Have just called that place home. They're either hiding out or they're part of a resistance. And there is no hunters. There is no such thing as hunters. They're almost like these, I can't remember what they call them in the original film, but they feel almost like video game bosses. So you have the hunters from option 1, which are just guys in army suits and vests and camo and all that other stuff, which is, run-of-the-mill military-style weapons. And then you have option 2, which is the 87, where everything feels, or all the hunters are video game bosses. So you have a guy that uses electricity as one of his powers. You have a guy who has a flamethrower. He feels like a, I can't remember the name. It's not Firefly. I can't remember the name of the character, but he uses a flamethrower. There's another guy that uses a Gatling gun. Kind of has this weird Captain America feel to him. But all of it is condensed in this almost video game, but not video. It's a real world, real life, but it's contained like a video game. Do you still,
right.
would you prefer the remaster to that?
Oh, maybe a better, like, I think maybe a bit. I was thinking this during the film as well. Like, maybe had they contained the area a bit more and made it a shorter amount of time. So instead of a month over the course, in the entire country, maybe they have, like, because it's a dystopian future, maybe like Boston or Chicago.
Think
or
like Hunger Games almost.
Or yeah, like he's in an isolated, or maybe Vegas.
That's what it's like, and that's what it's
just
like in the original. It's like an arena. Yeah.
Yeah, and it should have been like a week or something, where it's like he's essentially in a hellhole for a week and he's got to survive. It's just a much smaller area and he's constantly going from street to street. I also thought it would have been beneficial had they done a bit more of a John Wick style, like in number 3, when he's, just trying to, like, get out of New York and he's constantly getting attacked by every assassin along the way. Like, that was... it keeps that momentum going. He's just going from one... it showed the brutality of his situation. It showed that he had to, like, overcome quite a bit of obstacles to get out of that city. Okay. I think something like that in the film would have benefited Running Man, where he's like, he's running through the library and then he's got to fight a guy in the library. He gets to the next building, he's got to fight a guy in that building, and, like, it's just constantly...
So kind of like the video game boss thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. So I think maybe a bit of a hybrid of the two. Like, I don't mind the modern reimagining. I actually think I like the world a lot in the film. Like, what you're describing, I've heard, and I've watched some videos and stuff on the original. It's like very cheesy, but so I don't mind a modern reimagining where the dystopian future is a bit more grounded.
Okay.
But I think they could have done a bit more to tighten it up. I just think that the month and the range of the entire country and all that stuff, it just wasn't as good as it could have been. I think there was some good ideas though.
Yeah, I think that out of all the remakes and reimagining stuff we've talked about within this podcast, I'm not saying that the Running Man remake is better than the original. I just think it's one of the very few remakes that I would say could rival the original. There were some things it did better. And there were some things I just can't believe in the year 2025, we had a strong white male hero who leaves his black wife and mixed kid at home. I was like, wait a minute, am I fucking taking crazy pills here? That we're allowed to have a white male hero in the year 2025? I mean, granted, the guy, he wasn't the greatest role model, but I mean, yeah, it was nice to see Glenn Powell, someone other than Jason Statham or Keanu Reeves, actually jump into a role like this and actually be a strong male character, which is just wild to see. Not saying that automatically makes the film better than it should be. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, well, it's not woke. At least it's not woke. I'm not one of those people. But it was nice to see that, to see especially a man that did all of this, literally all of it, because of his family. That is,
he did all the stunts as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh wait, he did all the stunts?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, he did every stunt.
Oh wow! Oh, I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah. I just watched him on Hot Ones. He was talking about it.
That's a good show. Hot Ones is a good show.
That is a very good show. Yeah, it's a good show. It's fun to watch. Yeah, I recommend it. It's a good interview. He's a good celebrity. I think, like you said earlier, like he doesn't not so far at least have I seen him like you know wear his politics on his chest or make any. He's not making any Rachel Zegler level
Jesus
failures.
Christ.
So it's good to see. He seems a bit more accustomed to being a celebrity. But yeah, I think you're right. He fit the role well. I don't think it was a disingenuous remake. Edgar Wright's a very talented director. He's done some great stuff, especially the Cornetto trilogy. And yeah, I felt like they were trying to do something good. I just think it fell apart a little bit in the on the I think is it the halfway mark? It's not. It's like the last. The resolution is pretty bad. Yeah, I didn't like the plane sequence. I think that could have been a lot better. And the fake out with his family's death was kind of random, and to bring it back around again to show that Thanos there, what's his name?
Josh
The
Brolin.
big bad. Josh Brolin. He gets killed off at the end, but it kind of took a while to get there. I think it would have been a lot smoother again had Glenn Powell just gone right for Josh Brolin at the end of the film instead of going to this plane and doing all this weird stuff. If he just was like, "Yep, I'm going to the headquarters and I'm using it as an excuse to kill him because like he's on this show, he can do whatever he wants." It's like, yeah, that's the whole point of it. So if he's like took the opportunity to kill Josh Brolin in the process and that was the end of the film, I think that would have been a lot better than this kind of weird, janky, like he goes to the plane, he fakes his death, he reunites with his wife, and then he kills Josh Brolin. And credits, it's like it's just a little bit all over the place.
Well, I think that's something that the original did better because, like I said, in the original, because they're kind of like in this weird Hunger Games, underworld. There's actually a sizable resistance. We see a couple of different characters from the resistance per se in the remake, but in the Running Man world in the 1987 film, it's actually it's not just it's like a militia pretty much that have made the Running Man, the underworld, their home. They're hiding in it. Like I said, it's this huge arena, so they're hiding in there. They actually end up hijacking the satellite that is broadcasting the game show to show them that the host is lying. They're saying that people won, but they're actually killing them, etc., etc. And while the network is trying to figure out where the broadcast is coming from and how to shut it down, the militia launches an attack on the game show on the set. And then Ben Richards is the one who is spearheading that attack. So he literally goes from the Running Man world. He's killed all the game bosses, gets with the resistance, leads the resistance directly from. There is no time period in between where he gets out and goes, honey boo boo, whatever the fuck. Doesn't do any of that shit. Literally goes from the Running Man world up to the game show set, leading the resistance, and then kills the host right there. Which the host in the original film is Josh Brolin's character. There's Coleman Domingo is the host in the remake, and then Josh Brolin is the big network executive. In the original, the game show host is the executive, if you get what I'm saying. But pretty much kills him right then and there, sends him down into the Running Man game, and then boom. So the original actually did that.
Right,
It's doing exactly what you're talking about. It did it better, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. Yeah, I think that would have been a much better way to go with the story. Like like I said, if Ben Richards just went after Josh Brolin and. Again, if I were so bold as to rewrite it, I would say, like, he fights his way through the big building that they're in Co-op City there, like where all the luxurious people live. He brings the fight to the streets, right? And they see what, the poor people have to do to get by.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he kills Josh Brolin, and then, maybe Ben Richards dies. And then they cut to his, like, after his death, they cut to season 26 or whatever of the Running Man and be like, last time on the Running Man, and then they talk about how Josh Brolin got killed, and it's all just being reused as next season. And then then they could pan away from the television and show outside that people are starting to revolt and riot through the streets, and Ben Richards he didn't die for nothing, but show that it'd be kind of like a funny little gag to be like, hey, well, of course they would try to, these big corporations would try to profit off the situation while also people would rebel. So that's my headcanon.
No, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it was the worst remake. I actually gave it a positive review on my channel. I didn't think it was the worst. The big thing to me was that it took some swings that most films don't take swings at. You know, we were talking about the politics and the social messages that's been in, you know, quite a few films, including remakes, you know, over this year. But I don't think I have ever seen such a big fuck you to the media in my life. Like it really, the Running Man really focused on, you know, how these big news and entertainment and media companies control and influence people. And I'm like, my God, does this not parallel real life?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. It's yeah, I think it was cool. I thought it was cool how it took shots at AI as well, like showing how, I mean, yeah, AI will be used like that at some point, probably really soon, where like deep faking is a real problem, and they were able to use Ben Richards' face to like send fake videos and messages and stuff to like ruin his name and, you know, spend things they want.
Oh, dude, they did that in
the way they
1987 as well. They did that in the 87 film. I mean, it looked cheesy with a horrible, like, late 80s CGI, but they did the deep fake thing even back then. Like, they called it.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. Yeah, I'm glad that they kept with it, because, you know, that is going to be a problem in the near future.
Which, on my review, a lot of folks were talking about, you know, the politics and stuff of it, and it's like, you know, the thing about the Running Man, like, I didn't like one battle after another because it was very in your face. They beat you over the fucking head with the politics, and it swung almost exclusively in one direction. Whereas the Running Man, there were some political themes that were pretty bipartisan, you know, talking about the rich and the poor, which would be, you know, kind of a left side of the aisle kind of ideology. But the thing that really stuck out to me, like I said, was the big fuck you to the mainstream media. And people in the comments were like, how? Like, you know, like they saw it as big corporations versus little people. And I'm like, no, because when you look at the media, you look at Hollywood, including the actors and all the fucking executives. You look at the major news studios, like, you know, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and then you look at like late shows, right? Like Kimmel and Colbert. Like 90% of our entertainment industry here in the United States exclusively swings in one direction. And so I thought that was kind of a funny take on by the film, as it was making fun of the mainstream media, their ability to control people, to pass misinformation. And I'm like, but 90% of our media here in the United States is very left leaning. So I just kind of thought it was cool that they took, for once, they took a massive shot at the left side of the aisle.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think that moderation was good. You know, they didn't take any notes from The Last of Us, for example, and like, you know, when they're talking about poor versus rich, and they're not like, this is a commune, we're communists.
Yeah, right.
They didn't do any of that. And, so they didn't do any of that, and I was really glad. So, you know, like you said, I'm not giving anyone any points for just kind of meeting the bare minimum, which is not to be cringy, woke, and intolerable. But at the same time, because we've been getting so beaten over the head with this the last few years, it's refreshing to just get a normal action film that, you know, has a bit of a message, but it's not really like in your face. It's not really that complicated. You know, who can't get behind the oppressed poor people versus the obligatory evil rich people in this like made up dystopia? It's just it's fine. Like, yeah, it's like, it's not very complicated, and I'm glad that it's not, because it's just supposed to be this action film, and it's fine.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think at any point they beat you over the head with the politics. Like, it is a very big part of the film, but the biggest part, they keep the central focus on Ben Richards and him surviving this game and his family. And that's something that Finn and I have talked about before. You can put politics or social messaging in your film or your TV series, as long as it's not the central focus and you're not beating the fuck out of us with it. The Running Man didn't do that. It was still very strong. They mentioned it multiple times. It is still very much a theme of the film, but the central theme, the thing they focused on the most, was Ben Richards, his survival, and his survival for his family. And you know what? God damn it, I'll fucking take it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you for sure. They didn't beat us over the head with. I didn't choke on the message at all. It was just a natural part of the story, and that's good enough. You know, that's what you need.
All right. Well, we've crossed over the 1 hour. I think we're like about an hour and 8 minutes. And for the folks that are still watching, still listening, we're trying to condense things down. We want to start doing this every week, but we want to condense things down just a little bit to make it a little more manageable. But with that being said, Offended, do you have like any other final thoughts on the Running Man? Anything we've talked about? Anything that's coming out on your channel, man? I don't know if we're gonna put this on yours, on mine, but like, got anything you want to say?
Want to plug anything? Yeah, so I've been working on some more long form content. I've been talking to people on my channel for a while about doing longer form videos. So I'm going to put out season 4 Stranger Things review pretty soon. It's probably going to be over an hour long, it's looking. And yeah, you know, a lot of people praise that season. A lot of people say it fixed the show and you know, reverted all the damage that seasons 2 and 3 did to it. And I gotta disagree. I rewatched it recently without the rose-colored glasses on, and it is pretty awful. So
you said it's awful? I'm gonna be rewatching it myself, and kind of doing a similar video to yours, a little more toned down. But you just said it was awful.
Yeah, no, like garbage. Yeah, bad. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not to say that there's no redeeming parts. Like, there's no like good moments at all. It's not Alien Earth level bad, but
I don't think anything is.
Really, no, that's not a very high bar, is it? It's not dog shit, but it's bad. It's bad enough that I could talk for about an hour and 10 minutes probably about it.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, so I'm excited to put that up. But yeah, anything you want to plug?
Well, I mean, it's just for the folks that are still listening, still watching. You know, your comments, your feedback is very important to me. You know, I'm Toller Talks. Like I said, I don't know where we're going to put this on YouTube, but you can find my channel at Toller Talks. But something I told my community is that you know, I've been reinvesting back in the channel because I've been very fortunate to have the subscriber count, the view count that I have, just being 9 months into this. And so this is a whole new setup. Whole new PC, whole new desk, lighting. Like the studio's not done yet, but we're still working on that, renovating, doing the whole thing. So if you like the aesthetic, you like the effects, you like what we've done with this podcast, especially if you've done or watched any of the other ones, please let me know that feedback. And let me know what you kind of want to see moving forward. But like I said, we want to try and do this once a week if we can. I know Offended, it's hard for him to get out to the cinema just because where he's at in this world. Myself, not so much. But I can guarantee you we'll have something to talk about each and every week. So make the feedback. Even if it's honest, you disagree with us or you don't like something, please let me know. Because this is a constantly evolving project. So with that being said, man, you got anything else, Offended?
No, I think you said everything I was thinking. So yeah,
okay.
Thank you for listening, guys. We appreciate your time.
Yep. We appreciate you guys, especially folks that are still here at the hour long mark. Yep, we appreciate it. If you're new around, subscribe. I'm Toller Talks, Generation Offended on YouTube. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys and gals later.